Hello and welcome to this series on nationalism. And today we are going to talk about demerits of nationalism, which is also been called as critics of nationalism or criticism about nationalism. Now these are the some of the most important demerits of nationalism which I have identified. आप सबका स्वागत है इस नए ट्यूटोरियल में और इस ट्यूटोरियल में हम लोग demerits of nationalism के बारे में जानेंगे. So these are some of the 10 most important demerits of nationalism. Point number 1, nationalism is the greatest enemy of internationalism. Point number 2, crimes have committed in the name of the nationalism. Third, nationalism leads to acquisition of other territories. Fourth, it is narrow, blind and intolerant. Fifth, aggressive nationalism is a threat to world peace. Sixth, economic nationalism has led to commercial competition. Seventh, nationalism results in imperialism, which creates the problem of national minorities. Point number 8, nationalism can also act as a disintegrating force. 9, aggressive nationalism ignores altogether the welfare of other countries. And last, that is 10 point, nationalism has become man's other religion. So these are the 10 most important demerits of nationalism, and now we shall discuss about these 10 more in detail. So let's begin the first demerits of nationalism, and that is, it is contended that nationalism is the greatest enemy to internationalism. Well, according to Hayes, nationalism has been a curse and nothing but a curse. According to Rabindranath Tagore, nationalism as the organized self-interest of a whole people. Nationalism is a great menace because it calls for a great efforts, a strenuous efforts after strength and efficiency, and thereby drains man energy from his higher nature, where he is self-sacrificing and creative. Well, nationalism is an organized self-interest of a whole people and the organization of the politics, and continues for selfish ends. Now when we talk about demerits of nationalism, and this point is briefly talks about a very important aspect of demerit of nationalism, and that is, it is the greatest enemy to internationalism. And therefore, according to Hay, he says that nationalism is nothing but a curse and nothing but a curse. And why does he say so that nationalism is a curse? Is because today when we see around the world, different nations in the name of nationalism are indulged into such activities which hampers the interest of a larger humanity. Look at the current situation, what happens with COVID-19 virus. Now there is a big game and a blame game which is going around the world, that coronavirus started in China, so China is responsible for it. Well, time will tell us whether who is responsible for this virus, but as of now, all nations are armed against China. They want China to take the responsibility. And China, on the other hand, in the name of nationalism, is not even ready to allow a free and fair investigation into these cases. And therefore, in the name of nationalism, and nationalism has become the greatest enemy to the internationalism. It has actually become the greatest enemy to the world peace. Today, different countries are armed against each other, and this is all about just in the name of nationalism. And therefore, Rabindranath Tagore has rightly pointed out that man, by far in nature, is a very important person. He says that nationalism is the organized self-interest of a whole people. Nationalism is it is an organization of interested people who have been put together selflessly. Nationalism is the greatest menace. In fact, he says that nationalism also has become a greatest problem because these calls for a great efforts. It calls for a great strength as well as efficiency, and this has drained the minds of the men. It has drained away the energy of a people, and by and large, man has always been a self-sacrificing and a creative, and this nationalism has killed that creativeness of a man. And therefore, rightly, the first demerit of nationalism talks about that it is the greatest enemy to the world peace, greatest enemy to the internationalism. जब हम डीमेरिट्स ऑफ नेशनलिज्म के बारे में सोचते हैं तो पहला जो पॉइंट आता है कि नेशनलिज्म इज़ द ग्रेटेस्ट एनिमी ऑफ इंटरनेशनलिज्म। और ये क्यों? क्योंकि अकॉर्डिंग टू हे जो नेशनलिज्म है वो एक आज कर्स की तरह बन चुका है। हर एक देश किसी न किसी देश के विरुद्ध कुछ करना चाहता है। हर एक देश किसी न किसी देश के विरुद्ध हथियार लेके खड़ा है, और सिर्फ आज जो हो रहा है वो ब्लेम गेम हो रहा है। जैसे मैंने अभी बताया, जो कोविड-19 वायरस स्प्रेड हो रहा है सारी दुनिया में, मोर देन 190 नेशंस आर बीन अफेक्टेड बिकॉज ऑफ दिस वायरस। और ये वायरस पैदा हुआ चाइना में, लेकिन आज की डेट में चाइना ये मानने को तैयार ही नहीं है कि वो वहाँ पे पैदा हुआ। चाइना एक इन्वेस्टिगेशन के लिए भी अलाव नहीं करेगा, और इसीलिए आज इन द नेम ऑफ नेशनलिज्म हर एक देश कुछ ना कुछ कर रहा है अगेंस्ट अनदर नेशन, और इसकी वजह से आज नेशनलिज्म एक बहुत बड़ा थ्रेट बन चुका है इंटरनेशनल पीस के लिए। और यही रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर ने बोला है कि नेशनलिज्म जो होता है वो एक ऑर्गेनाइज्ड गैंग होता है, वो एक ऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर होता है, एक ऑर्गेनाइज्ड इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द होल पीपल। और इस नेशनलिज्म के कारण आज बहुत सा स्ट्रेस लोगों के ऊपर पड़ गया है, उनकी एफिशिएंसी लेवल कम होती जा रही है, उनका जो एनर्जी है वो ड्रेन होता जा रहा है। आज सब कुछ नेशनलिज्म के नाम पर ही होता है, और कहीं ना कहीं पर वो जो क्रिएटिविटी थी उस इंसान में, वो क्रिएटिविटी ख़त्म हो चुकी है, और यही फर्स्ट मेरिट ऑफ नेशनलिज्म है। मूविंग ऑन टू द सेकेंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट or demerits of nationalism, that according to Arnold Toney, he says that nationalism has become a crime. In fact, crimes have been committed in the name of nationalism during the last 300 to 400 years. According to Joseph, it is a dangerous in principle and constitute a chief obstacle to world progress. In fact, in the view of a Lord Acton, he says that nationalism overrules the right and wishes of the inhabitants. It sacrifices their several inclinations and duties to the higher claims of nationality. It crushes all natural rights and all established liberties. And that is what rightly Tony, Joseph or Lord Acton have identified, that today in 21st century crimes have been committed in the name of nationalism, and these crimes have been committed in last 300 to 400 years, and therefore it has become a dangerous principle and which nothing but obstacle the world progress. In fact, nationalism has overruled the rights and wishes of individualism or inhabitants, and this is precisely what today the issue is with hyper-nationalism or any sort of nationalism. Today, just in the name of nationalism, people have committed crimes of killing innocent people, crime of murdering large section of communities, and therefore we need to understand that nationalism has become a dangerous game for the world peace. दूसरा बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट डीमेरिट ऑफ नेशनलिज्म है कि आज के तारीख में नेशनलिज्म के नाम पर बहुत से कत्लेआम हो चुके हैं, बहुत से क्राइम हो चुके हैं, ईस्ट वेस्ट नॉर्थ साउथ। आप किसी भी देश में देख लीजिए, नेशनलिज्म के ऊपर कुछ ना कुछ हो रहा है। कहीं पर लोगों की हत्या की जा रही है, कहीं पे लोगों को टॉर्चर किया जा रहा है, कहीं पे लोगों को कंसंट्रेशन कैंप में डाला गया है। एंड दिस इज़ ऑल इज़ बिन हैपनिंग ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ हाइपर नेशनलिज्म। और इसीलिए जोसेफ ने राइटली बोला है कि आज नेशनलिज्म एक डेंजरस प्रिंसिपल बन चुका है। आज नेशनलिज्म वर्ल्ड प्रोग्रेस को ऑब्स्टिकल कर रहा है, उसको स्टॉप कर रहा है। आज नेशनलिज्म के आगे कुछ नहीं है। लोगों के विचार, लोगों के विशेस सब कुछ ख़त्म हो चुके हैं, क्योंकि नेशनलिज्म को ही प्रायोरिटी दी गई है। और जब जब नेशनलिज्म को प्रायोरिटी मिलेगी और मिलती आ रही है, तब तक वॉर्स, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होते रहेंगे। और यही सेकेंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट डीमेरिट्स ऑफ नेशनलिज्म है। थर्ड, nationalism leads to acquisition of other territory. Very true. It has become a weapon in the hands of the selfish and power-hungry politicians. Nationalism in the hands of the Hitler in Germany became greatest curse to the whole world. We have seen what has happened in Germany. We have seen what has been happening in last 300 to 400 years. That nationalism के नाम पर only we are acquiring more territories of somebody else. In the name of nationalism, we are just annexing territories after territories. There are territorial conflict in the name of nationalism. It has become a weapon in the hands of a selfish and powerful politician. Yes, look at what is happening today between India and Pakistan. Look at what is happening between India and China. Pakistan claims certain part of Indian territory as theirs. On the other hand, China claims certain territory as part of theirs. And because of this hyper nationalism, because of this growth in nationalism, countries are just acquiring the land and the territories of others. And therefore it has become a weapon in the hands of the hungry politician. And the best example is Hitler. When he was ruling Germany, he just declared a war on every neighbor who was around Germany, and that eventually led to the Second World War. And this is nothing but a hyper nationalism, a curse to the entire world. और इसीलिए हमें समझना चाहिए कि आज नेशनलिज्म के नाम पर सिर्फ हम टेरिटरीज एक्वायर करते हैं, और जब भी हम टेरिटरी एक्वायर करते हैं तब प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट होता है। इसलिए आज इंडिया पाकिस्तान लो या इंडिया चाइना लो, we have a border issues, we have a territorial issues between these two countries. एक साइड में पाकिस्तान क्लेम कर रहा है that POK belongs to them. Other side, China is claiming that entire Arunachal Pradesh belongs to them. So this is how, in the name of nationalism, हम सिर्फ टेरिटरी एक्वायर करते हैं, और because of this we have a problem and a conflict. Moving on to point number 4, that nationalism is a narrow, blind and intolerant. It is based on the principle that my nation is always right and other nations are always wrong. And this is precisely the another problem of nationalism. Nationalism बहुत narrow concept है, nationalism बहुत blind हो चुका है, और nationalism तो is associated with intolerance. ये सारी चीज़ें नेशनलिज्म में ख़त्म होती जा रही है। और जब भी हम ये नेशनलिज्म के बारे में बात करेंगे तो हमें ये भी समझना चाहिए कि जो प्रिंसिपल जो नेशनलिज्म से एसोसिएटेड है वो है कि मेरा देश सबसे अच्छा है, माई नेशन इज़ ऑलवेज राइट एंड अदर नेशंस आर ऑलवेज रॉन्ग, एंड देयरफॉर आई हैव अ राइट टू फाइट फॉर इट. एंड दिस इज़ व्हाट इज़ हैपनिंग अराउंड द वर्ल्ड फॉर लास्ट 300-400 years. Every nation says this against everyone. We do the same thing here in our country. We blame our neighbors. We blame our other neighbors. And we always say we are right. And when we play this blame game, that my nation is always right, your nation is always wrong, that is what eventually leads to a problem. Because In this debate of right and wrong, we have literally narrowed down the space of tolerance. We have narrowed down the space of discussion. जब हम उस लेवल के ऊपर पहुंचेंगे तब कभी भी ये समझ में नहीं आएगा दैट बातचीत करके भी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो सकता है. और हाइपर नेशनलिज्म इस तरह का स्पेस कभी प्रोवाइड करता ही नहीं. हाइपर नेशनलिज्म ऑलवेज सेज गो अटैक, डिक्लेयर वॉर अगेंस्ट योर एनिमी, डिक्लेयर वॉर अगेंस्ट योर नेबर, acquire more territory. And this is precisely the problem of today when we talk about the demerits of nationalism. और यही प्रॉब्लम है आज नेशनलिज्म का, क्योंकि हम नेशनलिज्म में इतने अंधे हो चुके हैं कि हम दूसरों के बारे में कभी अच्छा सोच ही नहीं सकते. और इसीलिए दिस इज़ अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट demerits of nationalism. Next very important point, fifth, that aggressive nationalism is a threat to the world peace. And according to Professor Lasky, that nationalism is built on a condition which are in the atmosphere of contemporary civilization fought with a grave danger. Very true. Professor Lasky has very categorically has mentioned that today's nationalism has built on a condition, and that condition is very simple, that my nation is always right and your nation is always wrong. And when we have such conditions, then we create an atmosphere of contemporary civilization of which it is totally depending on wars and fights. And because of such condition, today we have put our contemporary civilization into a great danger. And therefore aggressive nationalism is a threat to the world peace. Look at around the world. We have countries which are aggressively portraying their nationalism. At one side we have a North Korea. How can we forget right now how Chinese are putting up their arguments? How can we forget certain countries in the Middle East? And therefore aggressive nationalism is a threat टू द वर्ल्ड पीस. और इसीलिए हमें समझना चाहिए कि आज के तारीख में एग्रेसिव नेशनलिज्म कोई पीस नहीं लाएगा. एग्रेसिव नेशनलिज्म विल ओनली गोइंग टू क्रिएट अ प्रॉब्लम फॉर अ वर्ल्ड पीस. और यही प्रोफेसर लास्की ने बताया है कि आज का जो नेशनलिज्म है वो एक कंडीशन के ऊपर बिल्ड किया गया नेशनलिज्म है. और आज की जो कंडीशन है वो सिंपल है कि मेरा देश सबसे अच्छा है, आपका देश एकदम बुरा है. और जब ये कंडीशन रहेगी तब हमारा जो कंटेम्प्रेरी सिविलाइजेशन है, हमारा जो एटमॉस्फेयर है, हमारा जो वक्त है फ़िलहाल, उसको हम डेंजर में डाल रहे हैं. एंड बिकॉज ऑफ अ स्टूपिड मिस्टेक समटाइम्स वी हैव फॉट वॉर्स. And we have seen wars and battles wherein thousands and lakhs of people have died. It's only because of nationalism, and that too aggressive nationalism. और इसीलिए this is the fifth very important demerits of nationalism. Moving on, we have sixth, economic nationalism has led to commercial competition among nations to acquire more and more colonies. Thus, the motive force of a modern nationalism has been spurred by the economic nationalism. It has resulted in the exploitation of colonies by superior nations, but at the cost of the poor nation. And therefore today's economic nationalism has become a big problem. Why today economic nationalism has become a big problem? Because they are into a commercial competition. And when you are into a commercial competition, what you do, that nation acquires only more and more wealth, more and more colonies, more and more exploitation of other colonies. And these exploitations have been done by the superior nation, and that too at the cost of those poor nations. And therefore we have seen this around the world. We have seen this when Britishers came into India. They entered under the name of a company called British East India Company. And what they do, They exploited India, they exploited our wealth, they exploited everything. And today in 21st century, we have a neo-colonialism. The big nation, the superior nations, they are investing into the country. Sometimes they give them loans, and they give them loan at a such amount of interest that after some years that nation is not able to repay that loan back to that country, and because of that they have to sacrifice on their sovereignty. We have a classic example under neo-colonialism, like what Americans have done, and currently what Chinese are doing. They have given huge loan to Sri Lanka to build Abantota port. They have given huge loan to Pakistanis. They have given big loans to Myanmar. And today these countries are not in a position to pay that loan back to China. And therefore they have taken over this all infrastructure. And this is what commercial competition is. This is what economic nationalism have done to the poor nation. जब हम इकोनॉमिक नेशनलिज्म की बात करते हैं तब हमें ये समझना चाहिए कि इकोनॉमिक नेशनलिज्म एक कमर्शियल कंपटीशन के प्रिंसिपल के ऊपर चलता है, और ये कमर्शियल कंपटीशन में क्या करते हैं कि नेशन सिर्फ जितना हो सके उतना वेल्थ को एक्वायर करता है, जितना हो सके उस देश को एक्सप्लॉइट करता है इन ऑल द एस्पेक्ट्स, और अंत में एक पोजीशन ऐसा आता है कि वो जो देश है जिसके ऊपर ये इकोनॉमिक नेशनलिज्म थोपा गया, वो उस देश के अगेंस्ट स्टैंड नहीं कर पाता, और इसी के वजह से आज सुपीरियर जो नेशंस है जैसे यूएस, चाइना ले लो, दे आर एक्सप्लॉइटिंग द पुअर नेशंस. जैसे मैंने बोला, एक ज़माना था जब ब्रिटिश ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी आई थी यहाँ पर, सब कुछ लूट के ले गए in the name of colonialism or in the name of economic nationalism. और आज की तारीख में वही एक नए सिस्टम में हो रहा है. इट इज़ कॉल्ड नियो कोलोनियलिज्म. आज चाइना क्या कर रहा है? चाइना बड़े बड़े लोन्स दे रहा है उन देशों को, बड़े बड़े इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहा है उस देश में, जैसे कि श्रीलंका ले लो, बांग्लादेश ले लो, या म्यांमार ले लो, या पाकिस्तान ले लो. उनको पता है कि ये देश वो लोन वापस नहीं पे कर पाएंगे. और आज क्या हो गया? चाइना हैज़ टेकन ओवर ऑल दोस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एरियाज. दे आर एक्सप्लॉइटिंग दोज पुअर नेशंस ओनली टू बेनिफिट देयर ओन नेशनल इंटरेस्ट, एंड देयरफॉर इकोनॉमिक नेशनलिज्म is another very important demerits of nationalism. Moving on to the point number 7, nationalism results in imperialism, which creates the problem of national minorities. Yes, when territories are conquered by the dominant nation, there cannot be homogeneity among the people. These are bound to be section of the people who do not see eye to eye with the ruling groups. And this is the reality what is happening today in the name of nationalism, that in the name of nationalism many countries have acquired the territories. Example, Pakistan has acquired Balochistan, China has taken over the entire Tibet, and as a result आज जो लोग उस स्टेट में रहते हैं वो लोग दूसरे लोगों से मिक्स नहीं होते. Example, today's problem in Balochistan is that Balochis are not even accepted into the mainstream of Pakistani society to some extent, and therefore today Balochis are armed against Pakistani government. Similarly, we have in Tibet, when China took over Tibet, they bought their own population and settled them in Tibet, and gradually today the Tibetans who were the son of a soil, today they have gone into minority, and these people don't have all those rights which the conqueror nation has, and therefore these people can't even have an eye to eye contact with the ruling groups, and therefore nationalism also therefore result in imperialism, because you are colonizing that territory with the use of a force. और इसीलिए आज की तारीख में nationalism has resulted in imperialism, क्योंकि आज in the name of nationalism बहुत से देशों ने छोटे छोटे देशों को एक्वायर्ड किया है. उनकी टेरिटरी एक्वायर की है, and now they are dominating those territories. Moving on to point number 8, nationalism can also act as a disintegrating force. Big state may have many nationalities within their borders. The minorities are bound to agitate for their independence. An example here again is Balochistan and Tibet. Nationalism can also disintegrate the big state, and that is what right now happening in Pakistan and China. At least in Pakistan it is very more that people of Balochistan are armed against the state, and they want their own freedom, they want their own independence. In Tibet, so far it has been suppressed by the state, and therefore nationalism again can become an act of disintegrating of force. It can disintegrate the big nation if that nation does not give them space, if that nation does not give them their own freedom. Moving on to point number 9, aggressive nationalism ignores altogether the welfare of other country. Very true. And here we have an example like when Japan was busy conquering China during the 1930s, Japan did not care for the suffering of victim. And another example is when Germany under Hitler and Italy under Mussolini, or a British rule in India, they all did not bother to look into the issues of the welfare of these countries. In the name of nationalism, in the name of aggressive nationalism, they just ignored altogether the welfare of the other country. And these are the classic examples. And the last criticism of nationalism is that nationalism has become man's other religion. Yes, it is a sentimental, emotional and inspirational. It has more fanatical followers than any other living religion. In the name of a national rights, national honor and national policy, millions of lives have lost, billions of dollars have been wasted. This aggressive kind of nationalism has been called wolf pack nationalism. And what these wolf pack nationalism dates, they just breed for war. An example is Nazi Germany, fascist Italy and pre-1945 Japan. Now these are some of the examples of nationalism. When nationalism becomes a man only religion, then it is obvious that it breeds only war. And we have seen this in our history, and we have seen this even today, that in the name of nationalism, countries are just arming themselves to protect their own nationalism, and that too on the cost of sometime poor people. So therefore, these are some of the 10 most important demerits of nationalism. I hope you have understood these demerits of nationalism. And here we end the nationalism series. So take care and see you soon in next tutorial.